Round one then, we get started here in Hefei, China. Olivier Coste is your referee. The blonde-haired fighter from China in the pink shorts, can't miss him. He's up against a man who is on a bit of a tear in recent times. Keanu Suba looking to extend that winning streak to 4 consecutive fights since that first loss when he made his professional debut.
Yeah, a few months ago, Keanu Suba suffered an arm injury, but he kind of just used that time to relax and refresh himself, and he is really excited about getting back in here against a high-profile opponent like Lee Kai-Wen.
And Keanu slipped there as he unleashed that left leg kick to the head, but Lee wasn't quite able to capitalize.
Both these fighters are right on the cusp of really superstardom here at One Championship. This is a big fight. Suba trains out there at Bali MMA and Muay Thai with a huge stable of fighters. Andrew Leone, just really some great guys. His brother Gianni Suba is out there as well, and they really just travel
it up with
around.
those guys every day is a great experience. Now, Lee Kai-Wen has taken a kick, I think it was, to that central region that is rather painful, and Olivier Coste will give him a full quota of 5 minutes to recover from this. Of course, if he hasn't recovered in time, the fight will finish, but usually 5 minutes is sufficient for these tough men to recompose themselves, and more often than not, things get underway well within the 5-minute limit. Keanu Suba has to wait and look as apologetic as he can. He'll get a warning. There it is from Olivier Coste. Looks as if Lee Kai-Wen is about ready to start. Yeah, all friends again. Just for a moment, though. Keanu comes back with a brief attack as they recommence. Fighting out of that southpaw stance, the Malaysian. Rangy fighter, isn't he? Long, has a long reach, but he's tall, and let's see if he can use that to his advantage. Got long legs as well, and he can get that kick nice and high up, just as Lee Kai-Wen can, as you can see. Spinning in the process.
Keanu Suba looks a lot more relaxed than we've seen him in his previous exchanges. He's usually very aggressive and very almost spastic in his striking, but here he looks very controlled and relaxed. His footwork is nice and composed, in and out, moving back and forward, and his guard's nice and tight. Moving very well against Lee Kai-Wen.
Does look very fluid, Keanu, doesn't he?
I mean, at this age, when you're in your early 20s, you improve so much, and just Lee Kai-Wen caught him.
And he's seen the opportunity, hasn't he, Lee Kai-Wen? And he's going full press for this one. That must be 20, 25 punches to the head in that same position. Now the hammer blows come in. Nothing is coming back from Keanu. But he doesn't look in immense trouble.
Nice belly to belly there as he used the incoming pressure from Gianni Suba to turn the tables and utilize the takedown.
Punches to the back of the head, and I think Olivier Coste might have a quick word with him about that.
It's those rapid-fire punches, Steve. When they just start coming and your opponent's moving, you might graze the back of the head, but Olivier Coste has no tolerance for illegal maneuvers inside his cage.
Yeah, just because it's difficult to avoid doesn't mean to say you'll get away with it. You can see there several punches that could certainly be deemed illegal. If it makes contact with either ear when those punches come to the back of the head, then it's deemed legal. Otherwise, Olivier Coste will read the riot act. And that's what happened to Lee Kai-Wen.
I'd like to think that it wasn't a payback or he wasn't agitated at all when
from that earlier foul.
Yeah, when Keanu caught him on the inside of that leg there, but I think it was purely just him attacking and Keanu Suba rather attacking and moving and trying to advance his position as well.
In the fury of an attack, sometimes it's difficult to avoid when your opponent is doing all he can to cover up and not present the front of his head as a target. So I think that's what happened there. No intent, but he needs to be warned about it, and Olivier Coste doing exactly the right thing. So this southpaw stance for Keanu. He does occasionally switch it up.
Yeah, it's just that really advancement of striking that we've seen. And when you get a team like Bali MMA and Muay Thai that really is from all over the world, you're getting a lot of blended techniques. And to see fighters switch stances, it's really the way that striking is kind of going is as far as the advancement. When you get to change positions like that, you're constantly changing the look that your opponent's getting. It's really frustrating. There he goes back to orthodox.
Do you see a difference in the crispness of punches? Lee Kai-wen seems to me to be a little bit flashier in his punches. Keanu perhaps a little bit more pedestrian.
Yeah, Keanu's very linear. His punches come straight at you. There's not a lot of hooks, not a lot of overhand rights. He utilizes that jab and that straight right hand really well. But also his elbows are very tight to the body, which is classic boxing. Lee Kai-wen throws a lot more of that left hook and that big overhand right. He's trying to finish you with every single punch, while Keanu is trying to build up that volume and really land a lot of clean, crisp shots.
Closing moments of this round then. Oh, and a big right hand. Keanu Suba and Lee Kai-wen. On the basis of what you've seen in those first 5 minutes, Mitch, the Chinese man slightly ahead?
I got to give it to Lee Kai-wen right now. He's dropped, or maybe just created stumbles in Keanu Suba and really just looked like he's hurt him with a few punches there. He ended the round with just kind of a flash knockdown. But Suba's moving well, he's pushing forward. But Lee Kai-wen is just trying to throw some fight-ending punches every single chance he gets.
Keanu Suba, before competing in Mima, the Malaysian Invasion, actually traveled to Las Vegas to compete in the World Amateur MMA Championships. So what a broad range of experience in the amateur game. He's certainly brought that composure and that level of experience and background to the professional game here, standing him in fairly good stead so far in this contest. But it's Lee Kai-wen who's landed the crisper punches, been the busier of the two. And as Mitch said, that punch that just dropped the Malaysian to one knee right at the end of that first round will certainly have caught the judge's eye.
I'm surprised to see that Suba is actually trying to keep his fight on the feet and he's not trying to pursue a takedown. He's actually playing into Lee Kai-wen's strengths because he is an explosive striker. I would think that now that he kind of feels, okay, now we're going to stand and bang, shoot him for a double leg, put Lee Kai-wen on his back and see what he's like, in the jiu-jitsu side of things, or at least the wrestling side of things. Make him work to stay on his feet.
Suba now, well, he's just switched, I was going to say, fighting from the orthodox stance. He does switch back and forwards. Does that create an awful lot of confusion and complication for an opponent?
It does. It breaks your rhythm, it breaks the timing, and it also changes the distance. But, Lee Kai-wen doesn't seem to be very bothered by it. He's not throwing a lot of kicks. He's primarily using just his boxing, and he's even kind of changing his position and his stance a little bit as well.
When he switches in the middle, when there hasn't been an exchange, what it often does is it sets up a kick from the back foot. So watch for that. Finding as a southpaw now, if in this kind of position he switches, then you often see the kick coming from behind. So there he is. He's just done it, but didn't get the opportunity to kick because Lee Kai-wen put him on the back foot himself with his own attack.
When he is fighting out of the southpaw stance, if he actually just starts stepping to the side a little bit more, because right now he's very linear. Lee Kai-wen is consistently moving around and creating this lateral movement, while Suba is just kind of just staying straight at him and throwing those punches.
Oh, it's a good right hand a moment ago, and that was a stinging left from the Chinese fighter. And Keanu just taking the heavier leather at the moment. If he was behind after the first 5 minutes, he's fallen further behind, and there's a knee to the head. The technical ground kick just missed Mitch. He's in trouble.
There's the takedown that I was talking about, but it did not go Suba's way as he gets nailed with a technical ground kick and a little bit of ground and
big right hand. And he's shaking, he's wobbly. But for some reason, Lee Kai-wen was very, very hesitant in following up. And I get the feeling that he might have missed a trick there. Not surprising that he was probably a little bit tired himself, but you've got to take the chances when they come.
But that's also maybe that's the the experience that he's starting to gain here. He sees that maybe Suba wasn't quite ready to go out yet, and he can still pick him apart with more stand-up exchanges.
He's certainly able to dominate in this stand-up scenario as the fight goes on more and more. His punches are crisper. That's the key to it.
Yeah, and he's landing with more significant strikes, but Suba is still connecting with that jab, and there he is, changing it up, switching back and forth through his stances.
Left-right combination, a three-punch combination it was, actually. And as you said earlier on, they're straight punches, aren't they, from Suba, which I think also generates a little bit of predictability. And that's a nice left hand coming from the southpaw stance. So it's not a jab, it's a bigger punch.
You can just see that big sweeping left hand that Lee Kai-Wen is throwing. And if he just kind of maybe sets it up with a few jabs and then shortens the distance and then throws that big hook, he might connect a little bit more effectively. But see, he's got good lateral movement. The minute Suba seems like he's pressuring in, Lee Kai-Wen is already out of the way.
Suba is fighting open-mouthed. The pace is starting to tell. Final 10 seconds of this second round, and it's been a very entertaining stanza, this one. Scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. The judges will score this one in its entirety, not round by round. When we come back, we'll get Mitch Chilson's view of who's in front. Who's in front at this point in the match, Mitch?
At this point in time, you've got to give the fight to Lee Kai-Wen. Suba is definitely making a fight out of it, but the more significant strikes have been landed by Lee Kai-Wen. He's dropped him, and he's hurt him with a few shots, and it's definitely putting him in the lead as far as damage and significant strikes are concerned.
Another banging left hook from Lee Kai-Wen, and he's caught with a couple from the Malaysian there, just to tell him I'm still in this, and that's another good right jab from that southpaw stance. He's switching back and forwards. We've commented on that, and he hasn't stopped. He keeps changing it up just to keep Lee Kai-Wen on his toes.
See, that straight left hand is so much more effective. He's actually fighting better out of the southpaw stance than he is when he changes back to orthodox. I like to see him stay at the southpaw stance and really start to unload combinations. Put his hands together with the knees, possibly with some kicks, and mix in some more takedowns. He's got to change the complexity of this fight if he really wants to move forward.
Yep, something needs to happen for the Malaysian fighter if he's going to win this one. We've had 10 minutes of the Chinese man certainly edging it. Does Suba need to get a knockout to make up the ground here, Mitch?
I do believe he's got to get a knockout. I don't think he's going to be going for a submission because that doesn't really seem to be part of his game plan. He doesn't really threatening with the takedowns. He's not trying to, pin Lee Kai-Wen up against the cage and drag him down to the ground to threaten with a submission. He's got to try to knock him out at this point.
It's certainly Keanu who's doing the probing, as it were. He's chasing the Chinese man around. Lee Kai-Wen, perhaps in full knowledge of the fact that he's in front, thinks that if he can just keep his distance, hit on the counter, hit and run, as it were, he might just be able to put this one to bed. Reaching in, though, with that right hand, isn't he?
Yeah, but Suba's doing a lot better this round. He's a lot tighter with his punches, and he's staying southpaw, and he's having a lot more success with that straight left hand. Now he's starting to mix in the kicks. He's starting to change the levels, attacking the body.
Seems to have just upped the pace a little bit, and that seems to be enough just to give him the edge in the stand-up at the moment.
He is pushing forward. He's controlling the center of the cage really well.
Nice right hand from the Chinese fighter.
Lee Kai-Wen landed a nice little overhand right. It just seems like the shots that Lee Kai-Wen are landing are doing more damage.
Suba's still doing the chasing. He knows that he needs to chase the entire fight, and he's got the ambition here. He's not just going to cruise to a loss. He wants to change things around, and he's clipped Lee Kai-Wen with a left hand. The Chinese man comes back with a right and a left that were way off target. For a second there, Keanu was looking to bring the head down and onto his knee. Couldn't pull that off, but he's doing good work with his hands. Much improvement in this third and final round for Keanu Suba. He's just upped the pace, and the crispness of his own punches is there now.
He definitely looks to be the fresher fighter. You can see Lee Kai-wen's mouth's hanging open. He's clearly exhausted, and Suba starts to pour it on a little bit, but I don't know if this is enough to earn him the victory in the eyes of the judges.
It's a pretty dramatic transformation, though. The question is, will this 5 minutes of being in charge be enough for the Malaysian to sway the way the judges have been thinking?
You can still, Lee Kai-wen is still trying to swing for the fences with every single one of these punches. That big left hook is still out there. It's still threatening.
But it's more and more sluggish, isn't it, from Lee Kai-wen?
It is. He's like he's moving in slow motion. And Suba's starting to pick him apart now.
Punching air, that's all he's doing, the Chinese fighter. And you're quite right, Suba is dominating. He's picking his punches. He's landing pretty much all of them.
And he's more effective in the southpaw stance. He's doing more damage. Lee Kai-wen just doesn't have an answer for these straight punches because that straight left hand is wide open.
What a transformation, and this is why the global rule set is superior to any other way of scoring an MMA contest, because otherwise you'd say, well, Lee Kai-wen wins this 2-1. Not the case here. We view the fight in its entirety, and that means that Keanu can make a big impression here, as he seems to be doing.
He's moving forward, he's controlling the center of the cage, and he's really landing some good, clean shots.
Nice left hook, wasn't it? A big, heavy right hand. Still, the Chinese man throws punches, but precious few of them are getting through. The knee to the head. What a final round that was. Keanu Suba, I'm not sure if he heard that bell, but that knee was pretty late. All friends at the end. Now, this is interesting, Mitch Chilson. Certainly the Chinese man had the better of the early going, but was that final 5 minutes significant enough for Keanu Suba to take it in the eyes of our 3 judges at cage side?
I don't know, the first round, I mean, we saw that Lee Kai-wen dropped Keanu Suba not once, but twice with those shots. They were flash knockdowns, so he was able to pop right back up. The second round was pretty close, but that third round was completely in the favor of Keanu Suba, so it's a really tough call for both fighters. I thought, look, if I was judging the fight on a whole, as the fight progressed, as the fight turned on, Keanu Suba looked to be the fresher fighter.
Well, I'd give it to Lee Kai-wen. Doesn't matter what we think. Here's the judge's decision.
女士们、先生们，经过3个回合的比赛，由裁判打分决定结果。经过一致判定，获胜的是红方选手李凯文。